So this is a belated Christmas message. Happy belated Christmas, everybody. Welcome to Law and Society. And I want to talk today about in the times ahead, what would Jesus do? We talk about being Christian, talk about, Christian values, and then we see the people who uphold or say they uphold Christian values to be doing the opposite of what Jesus Christ would have done. When I was in high school, there was this movement of what would Jesus do? And, that rang true with me no matter how distorted it was made by other people who were anti-gay or, uh, you know, anti-choice or whatever they might be. It resonated. What would Jesus do? It was a question that resonated with me. And, I had a Catholic school upbringing until I went to high school. So I had a level of understanding of what Jesus taught. And what I learned was kindness. Jesus taught us kindness. If you Jesus didn't condemn people. Jesus didn't judge people. Jesus spread the word of how to live a good life by his example, by his service to the people, by teaching a better way of staying away from violence, staying away from judging others, being humble in how Jesus lived, in the devotion to his friends and his disciples and his family, in being able to articulate the art and the craft of forgiveness, that you have to be able to forgive somebody. They have to be able to accept, and they have to be able to reciprocate on that forgiveness. But that is not your job when you seek forgiveness. Your job when you seek forgiveness is to seek forgiveness. Your job when you are to be forgiven, or you are to, if somebody owes you a sorry for something they have done, it is not for you to tell them. It's for them to realize, and then them to ask for forgiveness, and then it becomes up to you to be able to forgive. The doctrine of forgiveness is something that I talked about before, and it's in the Lord's Prayer. And, being able to forgive and to accept being forgiven and being able to be forgiven, these are all states of mind that require a sense of humility, a sense of understanding, a sense of patience and responsibility for the bigger picture. And Jesus gave his life because he stood up to these values, and because because the status quo at the time was against those very simple lessons of kindness and compassion and not judging, of love and no hate, not seeing division among people, whether they be rich or poor, not seeing their station by what they do, but by how they live their life, how they treat others. And the love that is evident in Jesus' sacrifice of giving up his own life so as to absorb the sins of everybody who follows the word of Christ. And, we are all we are all sinners, and it is difficult and it is near impossible to be Jesus-like, you know, to be like Jesus it, all the way, all the time, to be that selfless and to be that responsible for the well-being of others by your own actions. When, the story about how he was denied, I think, by Peter 3 times and he told Peter this before this was going to happen. And you see that he forgives and he understands and he holds them that he has the responsibility for even their actions, their non-actions, and their ill actions. That is the amount of responsibility that Jesus took on his shoulders when he became Christ and became God, the Son of God, because he introduced us to a higher way of living, a higher way of thinking, a higher way of understanding, a higher way of finding loyalty among people, being able to have trustworthiness, to be able to be your brother's keeper. And I am reminding, and I'm talking about all of these because the world is in such flux right now. There's so much pain. There's so much suffering. There's so much uncertainty. There's so much cruelty. There's so much disinformation. There's so much falsity. And you would think that in the information age, we as human beings would seek out the truth over what is sensationalized. But that is not what has happened. You would think that we would seek the truth instead of corrupting the facts, but that's not what is happening. And I think part of it has to do with us people not doing the little more work of ensuring what you take in as knowledge is true or not. It not to be anything else but to know for yourself what's good for you and what's not. And I believe that throughout the world, in the United States and around the world, there's this huge there's a void of understanding of what we should be like. What are our values? And it simply boiled down to me, thinking about what message I would want to say on Christmas this year. And I have hope in humanity. And that's why I wanted to remind people about Jesus Christ and what he would do. And if we were to look at life through his eyes, we would see the bigger picture. We would understand the power of acceptance, the power of forgiveness, the power of patience and responsibility, and the power of love and compassion. And I wish that this coming year, even through the darkness, we are able to see that light at the end of the tunnel, that we see that love at the end of the tunnel, that we see that kindness, that we see that we're going beyond the divisions, beyond hate, beyond fear, towards truth, towards social cohesion, towards humility, devotion, forgiveness, and living our life in the service of what's best for not just ourselves, but also those around us. That also those around us part really does matter. With that, thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.